Okay, program number 5, leading off with our power movements, where the objective is not just your force production, but your rate of force production. As you go through these, you see varying reps. That's because you're going to go until you get diminishing returns on your reps. As long as you can keep good movement, explosive movement, you continue the set. But if as soon as you start to get a drop off in your velocity or your technique, you kill your set right away. We'll lead off here with a BOSU power push-up. The key here is your plank, and then once you get going, trying to get rapid extension while holding a good plank, explosively off the ground, trying to get that good elastic reaction. That's good. And again, you'll go on that until you start to see a breakdown in the plank. If you can't do the BOSU power push-up effectively like some of the young guys won't, you'll just go to the floor, we'll kick the BOSU ball out, and we can do just an explosive push-up or even a clap push-up. Whatever you need to do to regress that, that's fine, but make sure the main objective is good posture, core stability with an explosive movement there. The next movement, we'll come back to the fillers at the end. The next movement's a dumbbell squat jump, so we'll grab the dumbbells over here. There's 2 ways we'll perform this. At first, maybe the first handful of sessions, you're going to perform a single effort squat jump, which is a quick hip hinge, and we'll actually go a little bit shorter range of motion, real quick hip hinge, quick elastic, and bounce. Good, quick elastic and bounce. Now, after you've trained that for a couple sessions, we'll add the reactive component where you're up and down for an entire set there, real springy, real elastic. Repeating that, the more time you spend on the ground, the more height you get, but you don't want to spend so much time that you're not quick, so you're striking a balance between the quickness off the turf and the height you get once you leave the turf. Next, we'll move on to the medicine ball overhead slam. We'll take a med ball, preferably 6 to 8 pounds. This is a repeating overhead slam here. Getting over the top there, trying to hammer it down explosively, repeating that. Good. And that, again, the best you can do to repeat that, that's what we're going to go for there. Again, that's a set of 8 to 10 until you lose some of your velocity on that one. Next, we'll go to a hip dominant movement, the dumbbell swing for power. This is very similar to your deadlift, which you perform for strength, except now we're training more velocity with hip extension. Again, a hip dominant movement, so there's not as much knee flexion, mostly hip flexion. Less is more here. You should see the hip hinge pattern that we use on the deadlift. Hips back, hips forward, really driving through the heels, popping the hips through. Don't hyperextend your back here. Less is more. That dumbbell shouldn't go any higher than it's going right now. Maybe shoulder high, but no higher. Don't extend it over your head. Next, we'll move on to the hip hinge chest pass with a med ball. So we'll take a med ball. In this case right here, I'll have them throw it into the net. So here's a push pattern with the med ball. We're going to add the hip hinge pattern, which is like what you just saw in the swing. The key here is to get the hips through. If you fall forward with momentum, that's not bad. There's the hips extending through. That's going to create velocity to the movement. Again, the key here, hips back, hips through as you create the velocity on the chest pass. Next, we'll move on to the power band lateral leap. This is much like an agility drill. This is training elastic lateral movement. Any way you can hook up 2 to 3 power bands, you do so, loop them around something. Now you'll notice here, this is a very elastic movement. We'll come around the waist here. As he moves laterally, a set here is designated as 6 to 8 on each leg. Want to make sure that the trunk does not move here. Notice all movement is going through the hips, the lower half, while the trunk is very quiet. He would perform a set on that side, then he'd turn around to the other side. We don't want to have any rotation in the shoulders as we perform this. Again, getting very explosive off that inside leg. Like the squat jump, the more time you spend on the turf, the more push, more force you can produce, but we don't want to spend so much time that you're not getting an elastic movement. Next, we'll move back to the med ball, back to an overhead movement. This is the medicine ball split stance catapult stand-up. We'll use lighter med balls here. Probably want to work with 4s or 6s. We've done this before in med ball work. For a set, it's designated as 4 to 5 on each leg. This is with his left leg forward. He's going to rock back to get the elastic movement and finishing that nice finish over the top. And we'll switch legs for this one. There's the elastic movement over the top, and we're finishing a good deadlift stance to create that power in the overhead movement. And then we'll come back to the power band broad. This is much like your dumbbell swing movement, and should be a very hip dominant type of movement. The objective here is we're training the horizontal power and pushing back through the range of motion. This one will just simply walk back. Again, we've got 2 or 3 bands hooked together. quick hip hinge, and we're pushing back. Again, the key's not vertical power here. The squat jump is vertical power. This is more horizontal power. And push back and get out front. Okay, the two fillers that you'll be performing for your power movements after the, generally speaking, after the upper body movements, we'll perform a windmill. For thoracic mobility, which we've done in prep work before. Remember, the lumbar's locked in with the lower half. As we go overhead, there's your thoracic rotation. You'll perform the rep count for each side. For the lower half movements in general, you'll be performing the prisoner squat. Remember, here you're getting good ankle, hip flexion along with thoracic extension up top as you work to sit back between your knees for 5 reps. Okay, we'll cut here and then we'll go to the strength video.